Hello, I'm Heather Alecia. I am starting a beadwork teaching channel. I have 40 years experience, well, probably more like 45 years experience as a beadworker. I come from a family of beadworkers in which mother to daughter, it was passed on for multiple generations. And in college, I worked at Orr's Trading Company, and the benefit in working there, I met multiple beadworkers, and beadworkers always trade techniques and talk when given the opportunity. So I learned a lot more about beadworking, actually working in the store. So the things that I have to pass on go from very basic to extremely complex. So I thought I'd start as basic as possible in case your experience is as a brand new learner. There are different sizes of beads, and typically the type of beading style determines whether you use different sizes or stick to one general size. The two sizes that I tend to use most often are size 11 and size 13. The sizes when dealing with check beads, I guess I should back up. These are all check beads. I prefer to use check beads. They are made in such a way so that the bead itself is round and each bead is created individually. Some of the other bead types come out as a cylinder and they are laser cut. It makes the sides very uniform, but the ends in which the beads come out of are sharp and cut the strings. These, as you can see, are, well, if I can get my camera to clear up, they are round, so they don't cut the strings. If you're unlucky and you slice a bead open, it'll cut the strings very well because they are glass. But check beads are round all the way around, so they don't cut the strings. This line of beads right here is a size 11. If you have a ruler, you would see this is almost a perfect inch because you have 11 beads per inch. These are size 13. You have 13 beads in an inch. It also applies to weight. This is a hank. This is typically how beads have traditionally been sold. Now you can get them in cylinders. Usually when you buy a cylinder, you're getting about a string. But if you buy it in a hank, it's more affordable. And usually it's an ounce for a hank. And the way you can tell that the bead seller is selling the way that they traditionally should be sold is you count the strings. If you're working with a size 11, you're going to have 11 strings in a hank. That's an ounce. And the price should be based on per ounce if they're advertising that they're selling by hank. Size 13 is going to have 13 strings per hank. If they have less, then they should be priced lower according to a lower standard. The two bead sellers that I tend to purchase from are Orr's Trading Company in Denver, Colorado, and Fire Mountain Gems in Grants Pass, Oregon. Orr's Trading Company has a wider selection of color and size, and both are online. Actually, Fire Mountain Gems has been working to expand their seed bead selection. They also sell delicas, so know that the two are drastically different in how the sizes are and how they're made. I am not a fan of delicas, but there are people who are because of how uniform they are. But again, they do have very sharp ends, so they can cut the thread. You'll need to use a different type of thread for the delicas than you do for the check beads. Typically, for the thread, I'll use just a basic beading thread. This is a nylon thread. This is a size D. You can get size O, size A, and size B. This one is a stronger thread, and I tend to use it because it doesn't break as quickly. Some of the finer threads, I don't seem to have them here. You would want to go with if you're going to pass through the bead more than 8 or 9 times. But this one is a good thickness, especially if you're making something like this where it's going to be wearable, or earrings, or beading on leather. There are 2 main needle types that I use, and you'll want to purchase according to the size beads that you're going to work with. The size 11 I tend to use for earrings and larger pieces of work. I'll use a size 12. It is a smaller, because it's a larger number, but it's a smaller needle. Because remember, larger is smaller based on the number of beads per inch. So I'll use a number 12 for the size 11 beads, so I can pass the needle through the eye of the bead multiple times. These are sharps. You can use them for any type of beading, but particularly for putting through fabric and leather, because they're going to be a little bit stronger. This is what a sharp looks like. This is a size 12 sharp. This is a little bit longer. It's a beading needle. It's thinner, and it does not have the strength to go through leather without snapping. Some fabrics it can go through, but it depends on the thickness of your leather, or thickness of your fabric. This is a size 15. And these are the size that I would use with the size 13. It's 2 sizes smaller than a size 13, and gives you the flexibility of passing the eye of the needle through the hole of the bead multiple times. And the reason you want to pay attention to the eye of the needle, it's the thicker part of the needle, especially considering you have 2 lengths of thread coming out of it. It's the thickest point. So you will want to know what size beads you're working with before you purchase needles, so that you can get the right size needle. Similarly, for scissors, this is the type of scissor I use. I tend to not use a very long scissor, so I don't accidentally cut threads I didn't mean to cut. I've also used fingernail clippers and Swiss Army knives, the scissor part of the Swiss Army knives. So this is the basic kit when you go to purchase. There are other bead sources available that are valid, but again, be careful that they are not overcharging you based on making a plastic tube full of beads look like a lot more than they really are. So drop a note in the comments if you have any questions or comments, and then also please let me know if you have any interest in a specific style of beadwork or making a specific item. And I will try to either answer your questions in the comments or come up with a video. This is my goal is to work with you as a community, as a developing community, to make sure that this style does not disappear just because it's not computer. It's an old art style that needs to stick around on the planet. Thank you very much for listening.